Hey Playas, how you doing? Welcome back to Playas Guide. On this episode of Playas Guide, I'm going to do something that has never been done before on the channel, and that is talk about toys. And the toy I'll be talking about in this episode is Monster in My Pocket. So I've decided to try something new here, and that is to cover some toys, many of which had cartoons or video games and other different things based off of the toy line that I can relate to and maybe you can relate to because they're from my childhood, our childhood, and now I'm digging these old toys out that my mother held on to, and my son is enjoying them. So I'm finding it very interesting to kind of relive that nostalgia and interest I had through him. And I just wanted to reach out to the community here because I know there are people that, also collect video games and other things. And some of you who are nostalgic or collectors for all things from the 80s and 90s may be interested in some of these toys that I'm unearthing. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Monster in My Pocket, which was a toy line released in 1990 by Mattel. The original set consisted of 48 miniature monster figures that will be ranked by points. There was also this really cool volcano toy I remember I had, and I can't find that. Who knows what happened to it? That you could display these figures on, and based on their points ranking, they would transcend to a higher altitude on the volcano. The lower point monsters were stuck at the bottom. I'll never forget the commercials for these toys either, which were in black and white, but the monsters were in color, and it looked like, these classic movie monsters that were coming out of the screen in color to life as toys. There's also trading cards that came with a common figure in the card pack. And these cards were very detailed and they had a backstory for each monster on the back of the card, which I found very interesting too. This was followed up with a comic book and a second series of monsters. And then a third series, which was released as promotional items in, I think it was Nabisco products. I got a few out of Shreddie Wheat boxes. I know that. And then there was one figure that could be found accompanying the Monster in My Pocket NES game, which is something that I'd really like to talk to. This figure was highly collectible because it is sought after by both Nintendo collectors who want to have a complete copy, like a truly complete copy of the game, Monster in My Pocket, and because these Series 3 figures that were released mainly as promotional items could only be acquired through eating Shreddies, which child really wants to do that, and then the one figure from the Nintendo game, which made these Series 3 figures difficult to find. But the Nintendo game, I remember renting this game so many times as a kid. This one and Little Nemo Dream Master were the two that I rented the most. And then when I finally found those games, I think for like $5, I was ecstatic to be able to relive a part of my childhood that I loved. So I really like this game. It came out by Konami. There's 6 stages in it. Each stage has a boss fight, and you get to double jump, and you have the option to play between 2 different monsters, or you can play simultaneously together with a friend, which is always great. The game is not too challenging or difficult, and it is generous with its lives and continues, and has quite a few hit points before you actually do lose a life. So for a child, this game was not too challenging, and it hit just that perfect level of challenge as a kid, and I enjoyed it a lot. It's also a very colorful game, as you can see here. The music's not bad. I mean, this is a Konami game, and Konami was killing it back then with the games. Well, that's all I really have to say about Monster in My Pocket. I've touched on what I wanted to talk about. If you enjoy the Monster in My Pocket game or remember these toys, feel free to share your memories in the comments below, as well as any other of these little mini collectible figures that were pretty big in the late 80s, early 90s. I'm going to try to cover more of them down the road as I unearth them and can find out more information. I know there was a Muscle video game, and I have a bunch of Muscle Men figures from my childhood still. So I'll probably do one on that, and we'll see what else. Anyways, until next time, I will catch you on the flip side.